Hi, podcast listeners. This is your host, Jenna Pecor, and I'm so excited to bring you our episode for today. If you are a first-time listener or a listener who has been with me since day one and you love what I'm doing, I want to encourage you to support the podcast by giving a small donation. I love bringing you new faces and interviews, but it does take time and resources to do it. And any support you'd be willing to give goes towards website upkeep, travel, time, and costs, and would help me greatly to keep doing what I'm doing. Give your support by going to paypal.me/Faces of Grand Prairie. Today, my guest is Suzana Delgado-Gray. She is the Vice President of Operations and Executive Director of the Grand Prairie YMCA. She's been with the YMCA for 10 years and came over to the Grand Prairie branch in the last year. She is really active in the Grand Prairie community and really has a hand on the pulse of our city's needs with families. She has some really great programs and initiatives that she started for families in our community. I truly can't wait for you to hear what they are. So without further ado, here is Suzana Delgado-Gray. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. I got to give a shout out to Matt because Matt Rico is the person that reached out to me. Now, you and I had met before.
Yes.
We'd met this year, but he is. What does he do for the YMCA?
He's our marketing and communication specialist.
Okay, so he is on point, and he's on Facebook. And when I started doing this podcast, he goes, "You have to interview Suzana. You have to interview Suzana." I said, "Okay, fantastic." So you were on my list of people to interview, but then when he said that, I was like, "Okay, I'll make sure to get over there." So I'm so glad that you're that you said you'd be willing to do this. So talk to me a little bit about what you do for the YMCA.
Okay, so I started my career with the Y about 9 years ago, and I came in to run all of the after school and summer day camps for the Y of Metropolitan Dallas. So that territory took me from Frisco to Waxahachie, because that's the Metro Dallas area. So 7 counties, about 90 after school programs. So my relationship building really lied with principals.
So you did it for everybody?
For every for 23 branches across our metroplex and in communities where we don't have YMCAs. But after school is a need that working families it's needed when the kids get out of school. That's not always when parents get out of school. So that started my career with the Y. And now recently with a vacancy with the Grand Prairie Executive Director role about 9 months ago, this position came available, and I jumped on it because I wanted to have that experience in my portfolio of running a branch, leading a board, fundraising a campaign, just to prepare me for my next level of growth within the organization.
Right. So you were with, you did your role for a very long time before you came over here.
Yes.
Wow. So that's pretty interesting. I would imagine that every community is completely and totally different.
Yes.
When you go into it. So have you found Grand Prairie? I'll stop right here and say this. Before we started recording, you showed a tremendous amount of interest in the history of Grand Prairie. So I think that you're bought into this community pretty well when you got here. Yeah. So have you found, what do you feel like is unique about the city of Grand Prairie?
What I love most about this new assignment is that it's kept me grounded. So I'm no longer in 6 counties. I'm in 1 zip code. And I have gotten to know, I feel like I've lived here all my life because there is a group of individuals, leaders, people in this community that come together for, I feel, a human cause of helping others, whether they're for-profit or non-profit. I feel this sense and vibe of people giving back financially and giving of their time, and that's me to my core, is relationships, meeting people, networking, and similar to the mayor in that he's the face of the city, I feel like I'm the face of the Y, and there's so many people that have a long, rich history with the YMCA, that grew up, learned how to swim, attended a sports program, worked out at the facility.
Had their first job, like I did.
And people who have met and gotten married, that met in the racquetball courtroom where parents met. So a lot of great history that way. But there's also a big subset of community that have never even heard about the Y and don't know what it means or don't know what it offers. And so I feel that my role has been to be the face of the Y, and how can we open our doors to the community and fill needs that might be out there, and whatever those are.
Right.
And so I feel like, I'm part of the Rotary, I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce, I attend as many functions as I can, and getting to know our donors, getting to know our members, getting to know all these new businesses that are coming in, and seeing how we can partner. So I've really enjoyed it. It's a home away from home for sure.
I'm so glad to hear that. And you touched on something where when you said there's still a subset of people that don't know. One of the reasons I started doing this podcast is because, as you know, Grand Prairie is really long, like in distance. So from the north to the south, it's huge, and there's a lot of people on the north side that might not go to the south side and vice versa. And so there's a lot of things that we have out there that not a lot of people, if they don't leave their little area. And so, when the Grand Prairie Y was built here at this location that we're at right now, this was the growing part of the city. Yes. And I remember when it was built, it was when Westchester was we had communities that were a little bit south of here, but we didn't have the peninsula. We didn't have all that stuff. Well, now this is kind of mid Grand Prairie if you keep going down. So there's a whole group of people probably on the north side that have never even been down here to visit, as far as, the Y. And it probably helps. I know that this particular Grand Prairie YMCA has a very long-standing history in Grand Prairie. There's been a lot of people that have served on the board. Do you have just a great board of directors that you work with all the time?
Yes, yeah. Our board is about 21 volunteers and 9 new board members this year when I came on. Wow. And really committed people who I think we have reignited their passion in the YMCA. Because I think sometimes that lies with leadership, and that lies with what's happening out in the community. And, I just start asking. I'm not afraid of asking, and a lot of people said, yes, I'll stand alongside you and help carry forth the mission. And have been really lucky. Michelle Madden is our board chair. Sandy Woods is our campaign chair. And the two of them, and a lot of long-standing individuals in the community, and new people who are, just getting started on sitting on a board, looking to see how can they give back to the community they live in and want to pour into.
We just had, was it Gabriella that just recorded a spot?
Yes.
Now, she is a high school student, but she's on your board?
Yes, because there wasn't a teen voice at the table.
That's so neat.
And so I reached out to our teen director, Michael Sanchez, and I said, pull out a teen that you think is going to add value to the board. And Gabriella Sandoval rose to the top, and he said, she's the one. She started out coming as a Y child, going to our after-school programs, then transitioned into teen programs, then her first job with the YMCA in our Child Watch program. And she's just phenomenal. Last year she was our Volunteer of the Year and was recognized at our annual conference for all the hours and work and leadership she's poured into the Y.
Wow. So what position does she hold exactly?
On the board. She's a regular board member as our teen voice. Oh,
I think that is such I think that's a tremendous example for many other boards, is getting kids involved in that type of civic duty from a very young age, and understanding that, especially when they were the benefactors of certain organizations, and now they get to be a part of giving that back to students. And I think that that's just amazing. And I think one of the things about the Grand Prairie Y that a lot of people might not realize is it's not just a gym. This isn't just a place that you can come to work out. Now, you can,
right? But
it's also a nonprofit organization. So talk about some of the things that y'all do throughout the year that have nothing to do with working out, but about the community.
Right. If you follow us on the Grand Prairie page on Facebook, oftentimes our posts are hashtag with the why so much more, because there is so much more that we offer in the community. One program, for example, is our Live Strong at the YMCA program. It's a national program, but it's a 12-week cancer survivor program that's free to anyone who is going through or has gone through cancer, because we know how important it is for them to build that support network and that support system, and also get back to exercising and the importance of building their flexibility, building their muscle strength. And just 30 minutes ago, we had our 5 ladies out here working with Holly, who's their instructor, and sharing their stories of cancer and their journey with that. And that builds community and that camaraderie. And so hopefully we'll continue to grow that. But it's a 12-week free program. We have Fit Kids that meets here twice a week, and it's homeschool programs, that associations with homeschooling that need a PE credit. And so they come to the Y for free, and we open our gym up, and we have an instructor that gives them an hour of gym time. So,
and these aren't just 3 kids. I've been here when there's a lot of kids that participate.
I think we're
up
to about 60 kids.
Yes.
And so they are out there getting their physical fitness, learning about their bodies, learning about eating right and making healthy choices. So we offer those programs. We have a Get Up and Go program that we offer on the weekends, and that teaches families and children how to make good, healthy eating choices, how to read full food labels, how to moderate their diet. And it's coupled with, and they give a free membership at the end of the program that encourages them to keep their active lifestyle going.
Wow.
So there are so many programs like that. So I think it starts with the sports programs, because that's where a lot of our young families go to. And what I love about the Y is that it serves the full family.
Yes.
If you walk into our lobby any given day, you'll see our active older adults, just hanging out, talking, catching up, drinking coffee.
I was just about to say, drinking coffee, yep.
And there is a group that bring donut holes every single day. So I get at least a donut hole
Oh, my
a day.
goodness.
And that really just sets me in my sugar count for the day. So I love when I catch them and they're here.
Wow.
And so from the active older adults, then you have all of our group X and fitness classes that we offer with Zumba, spin class, anything a normal fitness facility would offer. We offer free childcare for our families in the morning and afternoon, so that when they're working out, and members can take advantage of it for up to 3 hours a day.
Yes.
So if they want to do their 1 hour class and they want to just, pull a laptop off and work on their assignments, check up on their emails, with just that break from the kids, they can do that. We have a great sized playground where a lot of families come and just play on the playground before they start their season of basketball or soccer or baseball or whatever the season is. And then in summer, the 11 weeks of the summer, this branch is transformed, and we have over 160 kids here in summer day camp, and that's 5th grade or ages 5 to 12 years old. And then we have our teen programs, and those are from 12, 13 up to 16-year-olds. And we have a counselor in training program where we have those young adults who feel they're too old for teen camp, but old enough to take leadership roles.
Right.
And so we have very intentional programs for them that teaches them and gives them those skills of leading group activities, being in charge of a group, being in charge of an activity that you lead. So a lot that happens, and we partner with a lot of people in the community.
Yes, you do. I was going to ask you about GPISD, because I know y'all have that coming up in the summer.
Yes. So one of the partnerships we have the last few years was a back-to-school fair that we have here in August in partnership with Unidos and the Chamber of Commerce and several vendors and companies in the community. And we're just meeting actually in a couple of weeks to start planning that for August. And we partner with Canales Furniture, Lupita, and they do a phenomenal job of, last year I think we brought in almost 500 people into the branch.
Wow.
For free backpacks for all of them,
Wow.
immunizations, and back to school supplies, all for free. And when they approached me and said, we need a gym to host this, I'm like, we're here. Let's do it. And so many of the people who walked through the doors never even knew this facility existed. They drove by it, but that big why, they didn't know what that meant. It didn't click,
yeah.
And so that was really exciting for me to get to meet them and talk to them about, and in some cases pray over them, and just hearing some of the challenges that they're going through. And I love being part of a faith-based organization that allows me to kick off a staff meeting with a prayer. Allows me, this morning, Dr. Scar and Oza Jones and I and the team met to plan our prayer breakfast that's coming up in April. And at the end of the meeting, Dr. Scar sent us off with a prayer for our day. And that feels good.
Yes.
And so many activities like that. This summer we hosted our first spring sports banquet. We learned.
I'm so glad you're talking about this. This is so neat.
A lot of volunteers had said, our young men and women have never attended a sports banquet, because usually that's reserved for either elite sports or club sports, and organizations just don't do, because it takes a lot of resources to put that on. And so volunteers brought that to me, and they said, we want to have a sports banquet for our kids. And I'm like, I'm in. What do we got to do? Didn't have a vendor, didn't have a sponsor, didn't know what we were going to do. All we knew is we have table, chairs, and a gym. That's half of what you need.
Right.
And with that, God always provides. And so with that came a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and their partnership with Wingstop, and they provided, or Buffalo Wild Wings. They provided wings for all of our kids, a partnership with Outlaws Barbecue that also provided some really, really hearty, yummy barbecue and sides. And Chick-fil-A and Chicken Express donated tea and lemonade. So community canes, Raising Canes also contributed. So everybody hodgepodge come together. And to see the look on the kids' face, dressed up as if they were going to church, and to see that all of this work, down to the tablecloth, to the decorations, to the balloons, to the red carpet, every last detail was for them, to celebrate them. And for us, it was celebrating our volunteers, the hours that they put in. I mean, as a parent, you don't have to volunteer. Give hours to, not just coach your child, but 10 to 15 other kids. And time again, hundreds of volunteers do that for us. And the camaraderie they built, the pledge they say at the beginning of the game, we like to say that we put the child first and the sports second. And that's so important nowadays, because, competition and
learning good sportsmanship and all that. It's all important.
That's so important. And those are transferable skills. And they're always going to stay with them. And there's some sports leagues that, it's more about the win.
Right.
It's more about the competition. It's more about, what did you accomplish? Did you do the drill? And we soften that with, we care about you. Did you make a progress from the last time you came? All right, well, mission accomplished. And so those are the types of life skills we want to pour into our kids that come through here.
Yeah. Faces of GP listeners, summer is coming up, and I want to talk to you about a great local company for your lawn care and maintenance, and that's Higher Ground Lawn Care and Lighting. This is a family-owned and operated business by Grand Prairians. The owner's actually an SGP alum. He's worked in this community for a lot of years now. Higher Ground isn't your typical lawn care service. They provide lawn care, architectural, landscaping, and lighting, and they even do holiday lighting for the holidays. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and they're also licensed with the Texas Department of Agriculture. They use high-end products for your lawn, which sets them apart from all the rest. If you'd like to see testimonials from other Grand Prairians, and there are a lot, or to check out all their different services that they can provide and find out a way for them to come start your lawn care, go to highergroundln.com and tell them that Jenna from the Faces of GP sent you. He's going to take great care of you.
So our exciting partnership that we're having with GPISD is, in my role as the VP of Operations, we ran summer learning academies in 2 elementary schools the last couple of years in partnership with DISD. So we entered into a data share agreement, and we were measuring outcomes pre and post. And the goal was to make an impact in literacy and math. And where are those schools where kids aren't performing at grade level and they're struggling? And we know that teachers struggle in a large ratio classroom. You can't give that one individualized care one-on-one. And we know that summer learning loss is real. And we know that kids from underserved populations and underserved communities are 3% behind their peers in a classroom where they're on course with their grades academically and where they're progressing. And so I brought this concept to the late Dr. Hull in May when we were partnering with the Cinco de Mayo parade. And I said, hey, now that I'm in Grand Prairie, I really love to bring a summer learning academy to GPISD. And she said, I think that's a phenomenal idea. I mean, she's always been a proponent of education. And she said,
and innovative ways to get it out there.
Absolutely. She said, I love the concept. I love the idea. What we needed from the district is access to a campus. We needed them to identify which was the campus that was underperforming. And once they give us that access, we would hire the teachers. We hired the administrator to do the morning work that they know how to do in literacy and math. We use their curriculum. We use their pre and post testing with iStation, which is the platform. And in the afternoon, it's fun summer camp. So they will learn the arts and crafts. They learn the camp songs. And it's a camp feel away from the Y. It's at their school, wherever it's hosted. And then every Friday, we bus them to a local Y, so in this case, to this Y, to offer them free swim lessons. Because we also know that kids in those communities sometimes don't have access to pools and may not know how to swim.
Wow, this is tremendous. I mean, I kind of had seen some things, but I didn't realize how involved it was. Y'all are raising money for that right now, aren't you?
Yes, so we are raising... Each Y, those who are listening know they've either been part of a campaign or have given to our campaign. And we raise, this year our goal is to raise $75,000 for our annual campaign. Of that $75,000, in 2019 we gave $130,000 in scholarships for families in need. So we don't even raise to what the community need is.
Wow.
So my board said, that's not okay. We need to raise to what the need is. So if the need is 130, then here I come with the great idea of Summer Learning Academy, and they're like, well, what's that price tag, Suzana? And I'm like, $40,000. And they're like, okay, 170. That's our new goal.
So is this a completely supplemented thing for the parents? I mean,
yes, it's free for the parents, 100%.
Wow.
Because we want to remove the barrier of I can't afford it, but the child needs that extra dosage in the summer. The only requirement of the parent is for them to attend parent meetings and maybe parent orientations. And what we've learned with the parent component is that many of the parents said, I need a tutorial on how to refresh my resume, or I need skills on how to use technology. My kids know how to use tech, but
how about I need to be tutored on 3rd grade math?
Yes,
because I don't know how to help my child. That was my big problem.
Yeah,
is just helping with the way that they teach math now, getting to learn how to do
and how to be more involved in their child's education.
Exactly.
How to read to them, how to set limits at home, because oftentimes we get parents who get frustrated and they want teachers to solve. They want teachers to do. And how do we give the parents the tools to say, here's what you can do, and here's the difference that you can make. And so with the Summer Learning Academy, going back to Dr. Hull, she said, I'm on board. Come see me when we get through the summer, and let's talk. Tragedy happens. I get a random call from a principal at Gardner Fine Arts, right down the street, Alicia, and she says, I want to meet with you, and something about the casino night coming up. And I didn't know about the casino night because, again, I'm new to Grand Prairie. So I said, all right.
I don't know about that either. What is it?
Okay, so every year the Education Foundation for GPISD host a casino night.
Oh.
And that casino night is one of their major fundraisers. And the money that they raise from the casino night goes back to fund grants that teachers write and ask for money for classroom supplies and supplements. So 100% of the money goes directly back to serve the kids of Grand Prairie.
And that's coming up.
And that's coming up. And that
Or it was at the time when she was...
Right, so it was coming up, and so it's not here yet. It's coming up February the 21st from 6:30 to 10:30, and at the Pioneer Event Center. And she said some barriers that our faculty have is that they have to buy tickets for the casino night, and then on top of that, they have to find childcare. Childcare isn't cheap, and so for them to have to pay a babysitter to go to the event, and then they're investing in the funness that a casino night has, it just becomes economically not advantageous for them to participate. So they were asking if the Y could offer childcare that night. I said, absolutely. We'd be honored to.
Wow.
So we're offering childcare at $10 a child, so very reasonable, from 6:30 to 10:30.
The whole night.
The whole night. Yeah. Come, you drop your kids off here, and we'll take care of them while you go and support a great cause. And so then from there, let the conversation. I said, I have an idea. I planted the seed with Dr. Hull about the Summer Learning Academy and how we want to make gains in literacy and math in a school that the district identifies as in need. And I would really like to talk to the family of Dr. Holt to see if we could provide this in her honor. And she just looks at me and she says, well, do you know who my assistant principal is? And I said, no. And she said, the eldest daughter of Dr. Hull, Erin Weisenhunt. I said, what? I'm like this is how God works in our lives.
Yes.
And so fast forward, talk to Erin. Erin she's like, absolutely. If my mom supported this, we will support it. So they awarded us as our campaign kickoff a $5,000 check as seed money towards our Summer Learning Academy.
Wow.
So now we are at $25,000 that we have raised for our $40,000 goal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's not if, it's when. So we have a couple of other fundraisers coming up where we feel confident that we'll raise that money and then some. We're really excited about the Y has a Y Day of Giving. And it's one time a year where all Ys come together and they raise money on March the 3rd. And so my vision for March 3rd is to reach out to 20 restaurants and say we want to do a spirit night so that anybody can go to any of these 20 restaurants and they'll give a poor OC back.
Wait, are y'all listening, restaurant owners out there? That's what she's saying. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously.
How to connect with me. And we brainstormed about 25 that were kind of in the area where it doesn't matter. Tuesday night, you're going to go out to eat. Go to any of these restaurants. And hopefully, they'll say, yes, we'll support you, and we'll get a % back. We're reaching out also to companies to do gift cards and gift baskets, because from the moment we open our doors at 5 in the morning, March 3rd, to the minute we close our doors at 9 o'clock, we're forming this Y, so that when you walk in here, it's going to feel different the whole time from open to close. We're going to have tables where people can buy tickets for raffles and door prizes and gift cards, night out experiences, and all of that money that we raise that day is going to go back to our community. 100% of what we raise, none of it goes to operation costs, none of it goes to salaries, none of it goes to that. 100% goes right back into serving the community and serving the families.
That's amazing. When you were talking, one of the things I was thinking about was, I recently became a single mother a couple years ago and got introduced to the world of single parenting. And what you're talking about, and I even talk a lot about women and men who are single parents finding a community where, because it's a very lonely place to be, especially when you have very limited resources, and usually you have more than one child, and things like swimming lessons or just things like that are a huge strain on your emotions and everything and your finances. And so one of the things that I love, and I was just thinking in my head, was this is literally a place where a family can come when there's one parent. You were talking about come drop your kids off and spend a couple hours on your laptop after you get done with working out. That little time to yourself where your kids are having a good time, they're in a place that you can trust.
They're safe,
and just to have that little space, or to just bring them where they can have access to things that they just you wouldn't be able to provide for them financially, because it's expensive having kids. Let's be all be honest, it's expensive for anybody. I love that mindset of it. Is just this is literally a place where, like you said, the whole family can get a lot of gain from it. So,
and it's and what I love about it is, our mission statement is at the center of everything we do, to put Christian values into practice through programs that help build a healthy spirit, mind, and body for all. And those last two words, for all, is what's really important. Is that it doesn't matter where you are at in your life's journey, you're welcomed here. We want you to feel that you belong. We want you to feel that you can, it's a place for you to fit in. And when I go out and I talk to some of the members that come through here, I ask them, because we coexist with other organizations in the community that have similar offerings in terms of treadmills, weight rooms, fitness classes. When I ask them why they choose the Y, time and time again, this is family. I feel like a family. I'm greeted with a smile. People care about me. When I'm not there for a while, they might call me and they might say, hey, you haven't been here in a month. Where have you been? Like, what's going on? And we want people to feel that sense of community, that no matter where you are in your journey, whether you're wanting to lose weight, whether you're wanting to work on your flexibility, where you want to build muscle, whatever it is, you can find a home here.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about the different organizations, because one of the things I think Grand Prairie does excellently well, and I've never really worked in another city type of environment, but one of the things that I feel like is very unique is how all the organizations work really, really well on helping each other and identifying resources that this organization might have that this other organization doesn't have, and let's get the people where they need to go. And when you bring up, there are organizations, there are other fitness facilities, there are fitness facilities that you pay just to have a membership at a gym. There's people, there's the Epic where it's a huge space, and there's a variety of things that they offer. But every one of those offers something different. And so, there's gym members, there's gym equipment there. But that doesn't mean that what they offer at this one place is what they offer at another. And so, but it's tremendous that there's a way that in Grand Prairie we can kind of share that resource. Thinking about the cancer, the 12-week cancer group, no other place is offering something like that. So if the Epic has somebody that's, and hey, they already know you, listen, you need to go down to the Y. I think that you could really benefit from that. We don't have that here.
Yeah.
And then now you're offering something to someone. I think that the community partnership is really what gets a community up. For everybody working together.
I agree.
We're not competing, and there's plenty of resources to go around. Grand Prairie is a huge place.
Yeah, and as a consumer, I want to know that there's options for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is why we coexist. When I sat and talked to the mayor a few months ago, and he was like, how's the Y doing? Because he's a longtime supporter of the Y, but also represents the city. And, he cares about people in the community, and he cares about the operation of the Y, and because he knows what we do. And that means a lot to know that there are people that care, and it's a community that just come together and we coexist. And so I remember when I first started here, there was a lot of conversation with the word competition, the competition. And I had to change that culture because because that brings on a mindset, and it's not a competition. We offer different things for different people, and let the consumer choose what that means for them. If they feel that they fit best in another facility, 100%, we support you, because at the end of the day, you're getting what you need out of that. And if the health and wellness is what we're all about, then we cannot support that. And our social responsibility is the dollars that we raise go back into the community that we serve. And our youth development, like, that's so important, is to making sure that we nurture the kids that are in our care, that are on our fields, that are in our gyms, that come and take karate classes, that are building those self-esteem skills, that are building those skills that are transferable and they can use somewhere else later in life. And they're creating their Y story, and they're creating their Y experience, so that when they come back, go to college, go to the military, go off, get married, and come back, which so many people in Grand Prairie do come back to roots. You hear the story of, wow, I remember the first time I learned how to swim. And so, Jen, I don't know if you know this, but I've always had a life goal of learning how to swim, but have been plagued with fear.
Really?
Like many adult non-swimmers, I just don't, it happened when I was about 12 years old. My oldest brother pushed me into the pool. And I, slow motion going to the bottom of like 15 feet pool. Lifeguard goes in, takes me out, doesn't have to resuscitate me because he was so quick at his response. But ever since then, I'd been afraid of water. Even just showering with the shower head, water in my face would just give me anxiety.
So did you know how to swim before that? Or did you not know how to swim?
No. Wow. Didn't know how to swim. So, it was just, how you make your life goals. I mean, I ran a marathon before I learned how to swim. And it was one of those, okay, I'm going to do it. And so when God called me to the Y 9 years ago, he didn't present it to me in that way. He's like, you're in a organization that can help prevent drowning, can help prevent the awareness of what to do, just that safety around water that's so important. But he didn't say now's the time. It wasn't until he gave me my assignment here that I was at a branch, and it was a summer, and I had a pool in the back. So I said, okay, God, this is it. If I'm going to preach it, I got to experience it. And so I went online. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was so scared. And I signed up for my first swim lessons this summer. And so I learned how to swim this summer.
That's awesome.
At the pool, right a few feet from here, and it's cataloged in my journey on Facebook.
You're giving me I'm having a spark of a program y'all could do, because I mean, think about this, okay? How many things that you learned that you were quote unquote supposed to learn as a kid that you didn't learn as a kid, and then you become an adult, like how to ride a bike, how to swim, all these things that maybe as an adult you're like, I don't tell anybody I don't know how to ride a bike. I don't tell anybody I don't know how to swim. Yeah. What a cool idea to like come learn the thing you never learned as a kid. You know,
yes.
like as an adult, like with a bunch of other people that didn't learn it either. And now you have parents that learn how to do that too. Yeah. I love that idea. I think that's phenomenal. And that's so neat that you had that opportunity.
And I met so many women who I would see at the front desk signing their kids up every summer and signing their kids up for swim lessons. And I would ask them, I'd say, do you know how to swim? And almost all of them would say, no, I don't know how to swim. And I'm like, so why are you signing your child up? We know that's important, but I know the answer to that because my boys know how to swim. My husband knows how to swim. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how, but I had to overcome my fear. And was
there an adult swimming class?
Yes, we have infant to adults swim lessons that we offer. So by session 6, so it's 2 weeks, 4 days a week. By session 6, week 2, the swim supervisor, Janet, says, okay, Suzanne, I think you're ready to go into the 12 feet. And instant panic, I'm fogging my goggles up with tears, and I'm like, I'm not ready. She's like, you've done your bubbles, you've done your kicks, you've done your hands, you know how to do this. You just got to trust in your skills that you learn and get in the 12 foot. And that was the first time since I was 12 years old that my feet never touched the bottom of a pool. So I got in there, I said a prayer, and she had more confidence in me than I had in myself. And because she had that confidence, I trusted what I learned, and I just released that anxiety and put one hand in front of the other, kicked my feet like my life depended on it because it did. And she had a fish hook that she would follow me about 2 feet in front of me, so I could never touch it. I wanted to hold on to it. I wanted it under my stomach. And she said, no, that's not how we do this. And so I was swimming and just going for that fish hook. And it was in that moment, and even a moment of panic, that I realized I can do this. I can do this. And then 6 months later, my 14-year-old Diego taught me how to doggy pedal, which I thought was revolutionary. But had I not learned how to stay calm, float on my back, learn how to breathe, how to jump in and reach the edge of the water, had I not learned those skills, I don't think I could have doggy paddled. I would have drowned doing that, even though I could have stood up in the water.
Right. Gosh,
So an important life skill.
It is.
That we teach.
It is. And and now it's something you can do with your kids.
Yes.
And I think that's a good point, is that sometimes fears that we have as an adult sometimes can affect our kids in ways that we don't see. Like we can't participate in stuff. I don't know. If I didn't know how to swim, I don't know that I would be as willing to take them to the pool all the time, or take them to a water park, or and so you overcoming that fear and teaching your kids that you're overcoming that fear. Yes. We ask our kids to get over their fears all the time.
Yes.
Constantly. We ask them to learn how to do things all the time, but as parents, sometimes we have a hard time doing it ourselves. Right. What a great lesson you taught them.
Well, we want the best for our kids.
Yes.
But when it comes to self-reflection, and we look in the mirror, we tell our kids eat healthy. We tell our kids work out. We tell our kids go outside, get some sun. Vitamin D is good for you. Yet we're in our offices, we're in our computers, we're on our devices, and we don't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to model that and take our own advice. And now that my kids are 14 and 17, they remind me and my husband about that all the time. And
it's tremendous.
Yeah. It's so important and they were my biggest cheerleaders when I came back, and they were like, Mom, we're so proud of you. And I just felt like I made them proud. And as parents, you want to make your kids proud too. Like they always make us proud, even
especially
when they
your
mess
teenagers.
Yes. And so now we're embarking on the journey of learning how to drive. And so that's a whole other kind of skill set and nerve.
That's
required.
I'm starting to see a lot of kids that get to the age of 16 and are really putting off learning how to drive. Like I don't know if you've seen that, but I mean, in my generation, when in the 90s, we could not wait to get into the car.
Right.
And I'm starting to see a lot of kids being nervous about that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard as parents to kind of walk them through trying to be brave and do things that maybe just kind of have that faith and believing that God's going to take care of you, but doing the work that is required to get yourself there.
Yeah.
That's something else too, is you can't just drive a car. That's the biggest challenge with my daughter, teaching her to do things, is that she just wants to do it. Like yesterday, I said she loves watching YouTube. She wants to have a YouTube channel. Everybody, it just drives me crazy, but whatever. And so, but she sees me recording, and she's like, I want to record too. And so yesterday I said, okay, do you really want to learn how I do what I do? And she said, yes. I said, well, why don't you help me record? I was doing a Spotlight for Children First, which we actually utilized their counseling services after the divorce with my ex-husband. And so I said, hey, you remember your counselor? I said, we can do this for them. So I said, well, why don't you read through this one time? And she read through it. And then I said, okay, read through it again. We have to make it sound like, she goes, I don't want to do this again. This is boring. And I'm like, well, you have to keep practicing. It's not just something easy. She goes, well, do you mess up? And I'm like, yes, constantly. I have to hit delete recording, start all over. I'm like, that's just part of it. Yeah. But I love when kids can see from our own, and I don't want to say failures, but our own missteps or our own, overcoming our fears, and they can get through that. And that's just such a great lesson. I love that you did that.
Yeah.
Our episode today is spotlighting the Grand Prairie Historical Organization. This wonderful nonprofit organization works to promote and preserve the rich history of Grand Prairie, Texas by collecting, preserving, and interpreting the history through committed volunteers who translate to others while maintaining the highest standards of excellence. They share that history through regular meetings with informative speakers, involvement in the community, participating in events with the city, civic groups, the school district, and by collecting and displaying historical archives in the GPHO Museum, located at 1516 West Main Street in Grand Prairie. You can become a member with only a $25 yearly donation, and they would love to have your input and passion for this history of our city. If you are interested in learning more, please visit their website at gphistorical.com.
It's important, I think, as parents, so now we're getting into the parent topic, but
let's go
apologize.
There.
To apologize.
Don't even get me started.
Sometimes as adults, we don't apologize.
Yes.
And I have to come to my boys sometimes and say, I'm sorry. I lost my cool. Or, you know what, you're right. I was triggered by that, and I took your phone away, and that wasn't fair to you because I didn't give you enough warnings. I have an expectation that I didn't communicate, and so now I'm punishing you by removing your technology, and I'm sorry about that. And to see a look in their eyes of like, wow, you see me as a human, you see me as a person.
Yes.
I've gained more respect. My husband and I have gained more respect from our boys in teaching them that vulnerability, because when they make a mistake, they need to know that they need to own up to it, no matter how it is. And we have to teach that as parents.
Oh, man. And especially with boys. Like, I was watching a documentary. It's called The Mask We Live In. And it's about, it's all kids, but boys especially. You have to give them the words to use to be able to talk about what they're going through. And I was so fortunate. I mean, the divorce was not a great thing in my life, but I was fortunate that I got the counseling out of it, because I was able to, number one, understand how I project my own feelings onto my child. And number two, I was able to understand, just like what you said, my child is a human being first. She's God's child first before she's mine. Yeah. But she is her own person with her own personality, her own feelings, her own individual likes, dislikes. And she's not an extension of me. She is her own person. And I'm her mother that's guiding her along this journey, but I'm not perfect either. And being able to reflect as a parent and being able to say to your child, listen, this is what happened. Because you know what, the next time that happens to them, they'll be able to understand why. And God, that's tremendous. The power of an apology is very, very important.
And that comes back to full circle when they enter the job force.
Oh, yes.
And, in the business that we're in, it's customer service. I mean, we work with volunteers, we work with members, we work with community people. And if we're not able to apologize and make right, which is what we try to empower our team with. And many of them were like, well, so what do I do, Miss Suzana? I don't know. And I'm like, well, what does your heart tell you to do? My heart tells them to refund the $30 that we got. And I said, okay, well, let's do that. They're like, but in their paperwork for that, in that way? And I said, when you're going to do the right thing, we find a way.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to do, if that's what's going to make the customer happy, then refund the $30. Give them the discount. Help them enroll for that class. If you got to put your own phone out and help them navigate that frustrating online system of setting up a login, then let's help them do that.
Right.
Because it's, at the end of the day, it's, I tell my husband, because then I come home and I pull out my laptop and I'm working, and he says, do you work at the office? Like, you come home and you have work all day. And I really started thinking about that. I'm like, God, I do work. I continue to work after dinner and after checking in with the boys and all that. And I realized that I do my heart work at the office, because that's when you're building and talking and relationships. Yeah. So my heart work happens during the day. And when I go home is when I do my brain work, is when I knock out the deadlines. I write the grant. I, write the email, check all that. That's where the brain work happens, where there aren't a lot of distractions, because when you're in a people industry, you have to take time to love and nurture people. And that comes back tenfold.
Oh, absolutely. I love the way that you put that, because that's so true. And I think that's, I don't want to get into I realized when I started this podcast, this is just a little bit of transparency. I was asking the women what it felt like to be a working mother. I never asked the men that question. And I was like, we're all workers. Like, so all of us work together in our families to make things happen. And I realized, like, when I was interviewing Dr. Alexander, he was able to go through, get his doctorate degree, and do all this stuff. And I said, how did you do that? He's like, my wife helped me so much. There's a partnership there, right? So it's, so I will ask you this as a person who is in charge of, something that, being the director of something like this, you're involved in, it's not just the YMCA that you're not just here all the time. Yeah. You go off and you do all the different things that you do throughout the day, and you do have to do other things at night. So as the director of an organization, do you find time management to be a huge struggle for you? And how do you handle that? How do you juggle? Because I have the same problem. I can't click off my brain when I should be, to spend time and focused on my child and what we're doing tonight,
Yeah. I think what's really helpful for me is my husband. My husband of 20 years, who really puts it in perspective. He will be honest with me, and he'll say, Suzana, what's your priority? Right now, I don't feel like we're your priority. And that, in my face, is what I need to sometimes realign my passion, realign my obligations, and realign what brings me joy. And there's, I'm the youngest of 5, and my dad was a Church of Christ preacher growing up. And so I also have this innate desire to help others. And I remember someone telling me once, the worst parents are preachers and teachers, because they're out there trying to help the world, and they not always at home, because and I thought about that, and I'm like, my dad was often at the hospital. He was often at funerals. He was often in the homes helping people, in other communities helping people. And my mom, as a stay-at-home mom, really managed to nurture the family. And I feel that I have some of that in me. And so, I just got an email from Dr. Wicker of a date in February and March where we're doing wheelchair ramp building. Heard your podcast with Tammy Chan of the homeless and how they need to be fed. And so we all have a million things to do, but we also, if we really look at our time, there's also a lot of time we squander.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we really look at filling the time that we squander on whatever that is, for me, sometimes it's my PJs in front of the TV. Sometimes it's scrolling through technology. Or sometimes it's just, I don't think reading a book is squandering. I actually think that that's, it's productive.
Yeah. Yep.
But instead of staying in bed the extra 15 minutes, roll out of bed, get on the floor, do your crunches. 30 crunches a day, something like that, or in between while you're watching commercials. It's just how you choose to fill your 24 hours in a day, because we all have it, and it's the only thing that's guaranteed in death that we have, every one of us have in common. And how we utilize that, it has to be intentional. And so I have my husband that brings that reality in front of me. I have my kids that ask for help or on a subject or a school or a project, and I have my community asking me, here's what I need of you to help us. And oftentimes I give financially because I can't give of my time, but I'm blessed in a position where I can give financially, so I give that way. And so it's a balance. It's no different than anyone else who is, doesn't have a high demanding job, or a part-time person who's going to school and a job. At 15, I learned how to drive, and I had my first job at 16. And I've never stopped doing either of those two things at 47.
Yep.
And there's never been a gap in my life at 16 to 47 where I haven't had a job. I've gone from a job to a job to a job to a job. And I love that. I enjoy working. I took time off when I had my boys. I went part-time back to work when I used to work for the school district in Fort Worth ISD growing up there. And God already has my end in mind, and I just try to walk in His light, do the right thing. I don't always do the right thing, but He resets me and He reminds me that He's going to give me the tools to continue on the journey.
Yes, I think that's a good point. And, I think that there's this quote unquote, we know that there's a balance, but we all have this idea of we're eventually going to get to this balance. I don't know that we ever get to the balance and stay there for very long. It's always, there's certain sweet spots in my life where I can look back and go, that was the perfect work-life balance. Excuse me. But that didn't last very long before I totally messed it up. And I think that when you're a person who is very community-minded and who really has and has a lot of ideas and has a lot of great ideas and is able to put those ideas in motion and do all those things, it can become very hard to turn your brain off, and kind of go, you know what? This can wait for just a little bit. I don't have to do that tomorrow. I know for me, that's my big thing. As I was going through, we have an upcoming episode on David Daniels. The amount of stuff he was involved in his life was phenomenal. It was just huge. And I'm sitting there going, how did this man do all this stuff? And so I think that regardless of who you're at, when you are a person that is involved in your community and you have that heart, it's always going to be not even a time balance, but a mental balance as well. And I know that I have a hard time with it. Reading the Bible helps me a lot because I know that when I go back there, I'm like, okay, God, I get it. You're trying to teach me something here. And so, but yeah, I mean, we have to re-energize ourselves to do what you're doing. You have to be able to have the energy to do it. Yeah. You can't just do this 24 hours a day.
And you also need to learn to let go and put it in the hands of God. I can't tell you how many times I start to worry about something. Wow, am I going to make that go? Am I going to raise that much money? Wow, that's a lot. Are we going to be able to sustain what we have here? I don't know. That's a lot. And when that idea pops into my head, I immediately go to releasing it to God. And when I release it to Him, a sense of calmness, a sense of security, a sense of peace and calm comes about me, because I no longer have to worry about it, because I know He will take care of it. And once you reach that level of awareness and relationship with your Maker, for me, it has really transformed how I show up.
Oh gosh, yes,
it's a continuous journey, because there's always the reminders and there's always the triggers, And how do we get to that level of self-awareness where we quiet that
Yep.
and we reset, we focus? I mean, the mayor has to do it. The chief of police have to do it. Our city officials have to do it. Our teachers do it on
Pastors.
a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Our pastors have to do it. The stay-at-home moms, and even our kids. Our kids in those classrooms, walking those halls, experiencing what they experience.
Oh yeah.
They don't always talk about it. And so I have this. I'll show it to you. I can't show it to the listeners, obviously, but I have this little black book. And in this black book, this is my, as you can see, my prayer journal.
Yes.
So anytime someone needs prayers, I put it on here.
I love that you date them.
I try to remember to go back to, you see here,
Mm-hmm.
I prayed for Sandy Woods to be my campaign chair.
Oh, wow.
In 2019.
Oh.
Because I needed someone to lead us in that journey.
Wow.
A friend we know well with Lone Star Park was having surgery. Prayed for her. And then in the back, I also then have my gratitude journal. And so how do I share gratitude and joy and thanks to the people who support me, who support the work that we do? Because you got to write notes. I'm a note writer, and so I write thank yous all the time because it reminds people that you're thinking about them. God, I write a lot of notes as I'm looking through all
No, that's
of
good. And because we think about people sometimes, and if we would just send them just a hey, thinking about you, that's all it would take sometimes.
Yes.
But yeah, being intentional even with your gratitude, man, that is such a good lesson, because that pulls you right back from having a bad day.
Yes, it does.
And reaching out to other people, and you don't know what that's going to do for somebody else. But we only have about a minute left, but I just wanted to say thank you. It was so nice talking to you. I really look forward to what this Y is going to do, and I'm so glad. I think that you're here for a reason. I think that this community is very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
So where can people find the events? Because you mentioned a lot, so where can they find all these events going on?
So if you follow us on Facebook or
Okay.
Instagram, Grand Prairie Family YMCA, Matt, who you mentioned earlier, he does a really good job of posting upcoming events that we'll be having. And so that's really the most current. If they want information about programs that we offer, sports seasons, summer camp, swim lessons, health and fitness, they can go to grandprairieymca.org and go to our website, and they can get information there as well.
Perfect. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Suzana. It was so nice to talk to you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.